please welcome Mr. Matthew Good. When you look back, selling T-shirts that you came up with to say Matthew Good is a real asshole, how does that rank in your decision-making?
That was the worst idea I ever had, probably. I remember that it was in response to an article someone had written a long time ago. It was a newspaper in Ontario. And I decided that it would be fun to come up with these shirts, so we did something really cheap. We just got black T-shirts, and our merch company at the time just printed it up with simple white writing on it. And we were playing in St. Catharines in Ontario, and we just made enough shirts for the show. And they were sold out before the opening band even went on. You put something like that on a T-shirt, right? But unfortunately, because it became such a cash cow, it hung around a little bit longer than I thought, I wanted it to. And then bumper stickers were made, and diapers, and baby food, and all the rest of it, really. And it became one of those things. You know how the press is, especially the music press in this country. It's if they can, they're so hard done by or so hard up for anything, that if they can find anything that to be,
but you fed them
a decade worth of redundancies.
Yeah, but you fed them. You totally played into that, though, didn't you?
No, I didn't really feed them. I just kind of basically spoke my mind, Mm-hmm. And when that happens, sometimes there's conflict, you know what I mean? Especially with certain people in the media, they don't really appreciate, the fact that you do that. And then it all really comes out in the wash and how you're quoted.
Right. Musically, you've got this album called Hospital Music, and record titles can mean nothing or mean lots.
Yeah.
But I guess in this one, the record title Hospital Music means a lot because you were in a hospital.
Yeah.
For a long time.
I was, only 7 days, actually.
That's a long time, but for the reason you were in?
Yeah, no, I mean, people that suffer from my condition, which is bipolarity, I mean, sometimes they can be in for 3 or 4 months.
The process, how did you get to the hospital?
Oh, I overdosed on a drug called Ativan, which I was taking because of the antidepressant that I was on at the time. Actually, the increased dosage that I was on brings out mania in people who suffer from bipolarity. And I was at my parents' place. I had just come back from Europe, and I was at my parents' place because all my stuff was in storage. And my dad made dinner, and we had some beers, and I went upstairs to watch a Gangs of New York, I think, on my laptop. And I had a manic episode, and so I took like 3 or 4, because at that time, I think over the course of that year, I could take 7 milligrams of that stuff over a course of a day and seriously sit here and have, a completely normal conversation with you. So I think I took about 3 or 4 milligrams, which usually would knock a normal person out, and it kind of just, it didn't really work as fast as I kind of thought it would. I think it reacted more with the alcohol than anything. Mm-hmm. And from there on in, I don't really remember a lot. I know that...
You took more pills, right?
I'm like in excess of 45.
Okay, but did you know what you were doing?
No, no clue. No idea.
And it wasn't a suicide attempt, right?
Oh, no idea. I had no idea what I was doing.
Did your family think it was?
Well, I mean, when I came, I guess I was in the shower at one point, and I asked my mom to bring me a beer in the shower. that maybe should have tipped my mom off. But she actually brought me a beer.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty awesome mom.
That's a pretty awesome mom right there. She put the beer inside the bathroom door. I was like, thanks. But I think I made it back to the spare bedroom, which doubles as my mom's home office, and really, when I think back on it, that's all I remember. After that, I woke up in the hospital. My sister-in-law was next to me, and my mom was talking to a doctor, and then I had to willfully commit myself because of the circumstances.
So you come to realization that this is what you're suffering.
Yep.
Bipolar. Mm-hmm. You go through a not pleasant divorce. Not many of them are pleasant, but yours certainly wasn't.
No, wasn't, yeah.
And you weren't touring as much, or at least you weren't in the mainstream media as much. People weren't talking about you as much. Did that play into it at all?
No, not at all. To tell you the truth, when I'm not, it's fine. I've never been a fan of attention. Actually, to be quite honest with you, in my career, it comes with the territory, I know, and especially in kind of the hypersensitive state of entertainment that we live in, people, seek that. They seek attention and seek fame. And that's always been actually a point of anxiety for me with regards to what I do for a living. So, that didn't bug me at all.
Is it, artists run to art in a lot of ways because, they feel like they need to get stuff out of them. They don't feel like they're part of a group of people, and then all of a sudden those group of people become your fans, and then you're on stage, and you ran into this art, and then you look at the audience. Could you connect to your audience at all? Did you feel like this was working?
In what regard? Like as in currently or the past? Or?
Well, in the past.
No. I mean, I can remember playing shows when the band was doing Beautiful Midnight and going, this really was not representative of what I wanted to really be doing. You get to a certain point where, you've done something that's hugely successful and you get locked into it, And to some extent, obviously, you play into that as well. I'm not going to say that I didn't. But ultimately, you look at it, and then you have to spend time deconstructing it. And after the band broke up, I spent 7 years trying to deconstruct that whole image of having to get away from that. And ultimately, it led me back to just playing by myself, because at least I know that drunken hooligans wouldn't be crowd surfing to apparitions. So,
which was happening before.
Which seriously was happening before, and and I've seen, like you were talking about, obviously before the introduction. I've seen a lot of horrible things go down in front of me. I mean, I remember a point in time when half the time we wouldn't even concentrate on what we were doing up there. I would just watch the front, right at the barrier, to see what was happening, to see what girls getting crushed, and while security splashing each other with hoses.
Having fun.
Yeah.
MatthewGood.org is your website where you actually post regularly. You're
every
up there.
Day usually.
Super political as well at times. That plays into you nicely. Do you like that now? Lots to talk about,
There
Matthew.
you go, yeah.
You're talking about ordinary rendition on your website a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I was talking about that. Yeah, there's obviously the United States has made a claim that they have the right to basically render British citizens back to the United States to stand trial for crimes, period. And it's actually based on a translation of an older practice of bounty hunting. But, were, for example, say the 13 warrants that an Italian judge in I believe it was 2006, in June of 2006, issued for 13 CIA operatives that were responsible for the rendition of Abu Omar to Egypt, were they to be plucked off the streets of the United States, all hell break loose.
There'd be rubble in Rome if that were to happen. There would be rubble in Rome if that were to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you ever put something on there, because you do speak your mind, do you ever put something out there and it exists, it's in the cache forever, and you go, why did I? Like your T-shirt decision, do you ever do anything with political statements and go, not a good idea in retrospect?
Sometimes, obviously, it's very difficult, obviously. I mean, anything to do with geopolitics is fluid, right? So you have to, you put the amount of time into research something, but obviously things change. And obviously there are many, many layers to many, many things. Like you were talking at the top of the program about the referendum that happened in Venezuela yesterday. And the fact that, Chavez lost, it was 51% to 49%. Obviously 40% of the registered voting public in Venezuela didn't vote. And a large portion of that are actually Chavez supporters who didn't support his reforms. Now, obviously, the most popular, amendments to the Constitution that he was proposing, I'm completely against as well. Lifetime terms and the rest of it. There is also a lot of things that he was proposing that doesn't get attracted or isn't attracted, but the Western media doesn't want to really talk about it, which are actually very positive things. When it comes to especially Latin American leaders, it's a very interesting thing. You're talking about, for example, in his case, a man that has had a coup attempt against him that was by no means, the National Endowment for Democracy and USAID helped covertly fund those people who tried to remove him from power, which means the United States tried to remove him from power. So, it would make anyone paranoid.
MatthewGood.org. You can learn a lot more about it. And
blah, blah, blah.
Hospital Music is the record. It's nice to see you, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, good. Check it out. When our return, we're going to update you on Operation Disc Drop. If you don't know what Disc Drop is, stick around. Plus, we've got this guy, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there all will be.